सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। We have to see that the topic is that just as Karmakanda is useful in its own way, Karmapara Vakyas are useful. In the same manner, Vedanta Vakyas also are useful. Karmakanda Vakyas are useful, by way of giving man some result within the creation. Whereas Vedanta is useful by teaching him about the source of the creation, liberate him for good. Karmakanda gives a temporary relief, whereas Vedanta gives a permanent solution. See, both are useful. Now one can't say. So between relief and solution, when a person is not yet ready for the solution, then he goes for a relief. Because, permanent solution comes through lot of understanding. When a person is not available for deep understanding about himself, then Karmakanda gives a relief to him. When you come to Vedanta, it solves the problem. It gives a permanent solution. And therefore, even though Vedanta doesn't talk about actions, but yet it is useful. It's not that only actions are useful and understanding is not useful. Actions are useful. Self-understanding also is useful in its own way. Up to this we have seen. Then, apicha brahmano na hantavyah iti chaiva madhya nivrittihi upadishyate na cha sa kriya api kriya sadhanam. So, apicha further. The Karmakanda says, hey, don't kill a Brahmana. It means only don't be violent. Don't take the life of the innocent. Brahmana here stands for an innocent person, any life. So the general doctrine, the general teaching given by the Karmakanda is don't be violent. It's a very big teaching. Brahmano na hantavya. Don't kill, don't take others' life. Supposing you are fighting a battle, then it is all right. But in other situations, don't take the innocent lives just to satisfy your sense pleasure. Just to gratify your senses. or to gratify your impulse. Sometimes some people have the impulse to kill and they get a kick out of it, you see. That's called, gratifying an impulse. So Karma Kanda says, just to gratify your impulse to kill, don't kill. Now, this is an Upadesha, Karma Kanda gives. Brahmano hantavyaha iti jaiva matya nivritti. So, don't be violent is a statement talking about non-violence. It is withdrawal from violence. Non-violence is not another action. Non-violence, to be non-violent is not an action. To be violent is an action. To be non-violent, just withdraw from the acts of violence. It's withdrawal from an action. Actually, it is freedom from an action. Actually, it is a non-action. So ultimately it means non-violence is not another action. It is freedom from a violent action. Now this teaching people that don't be violent, and when the people receive that teaching, and if they become non-violent, meaning if they become free from the act of violence, and they become free from the act of violence, is it useful or not? It is useful. Non-violence is useful. Non-violence is useful. Even though it is not another action, even freedom from action is useful. Sometimes action is useful, sometimes not doing is useful. In the case of many people, when they don't do anything, it is more constructive. Because when they do something, they mess it up. Not doing anything also is useful. It makes things easier for others. It makes things a clumsy person. So he goes to the kitchen and brings a glass of water and he breaks it on the way. So then the person, the grihini, the house wife says, please, you don't do anything, I will do it. You don't do anything. Aap aaram se baitho. So I will do it. Now when he sits down aaram se, if the saab he sits down aaram se, it makes things easier for the housewife, mem saab. And therefore, saab not doing anything is also useful. Meaning we do experience in life that actions are useful, right actions are useful, not doing wrong actions is also useful. That is how it should be taken. Doing right actions is useful. Not doing wrong actions is also useful. Freedom from wrong actions also is useful. Now, not doing a wrong action, is it another action? यहाँ पर तो बहुत सोचना पड़ता है. Whole thing is mimamsa. Not doing a wrong action is not another action. It is just not doing, bas. Therefore, non-violence is not an action. Those freedom from wrong actions is also taught by Karma Kanda. And non-action is also taught. Non-action means what? Freedom from wrong action. Freedom from wrong action means freedom from action is also taught by the Karma Kanda. In that manner,
Vedanta also can teach a reality, understanding which is not an action. So Karmakanda teaches non-action. Vedanta also teaches non-action. When Karmakanda teaches non-action, that non-action is in the form of freedom from wrong action. And when Vedanta teaches non-action, it is in the form of knowing what is there, not doing something. It is knowing education. It's knowing oneself. Cannot be called another action. Therefore, if you say, hey Purvapakshi, that all the teachings pertaining to non-actions are useless, then half of Karmakanda would be useless, because half of Karmakanda teaches the don'ts. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And not doing an action is not an action. Therefore, Karmakanda also teaches non-action. And yet it is useful. In the same manner, Vedanta also teaches non-action. That non-action is in the form of knowing. That is in the form of knowing. In this manner, whatever is taught by Karmakanda and Vedanta is useful iti. Now, Brahmano nahantavyaha iti chaivamadhya nivrittihi. This nivrittihi, withdrawal from violence, upadishyate, is taught. Nacha sakriya. Now, withdrawing from violence is not another action, another kriya. Withdrawal from kriya, withdrawal from the act of violence, withdrawal from the act of violence is not another act. It is just freedom from the action. Nacha sa kriya, napi kriya sadhanam. Nor is it a means to another action. So, not withdrawal from the act of violence, withdrawal from the act of violence is neither an action nor a means to an action. Clear? So, withdrawal from the act of violence is neither an action nor a means of action. It is non-action. Akriyarthanam upadeshaha anarthakaschet brahmano nahantavyaha ityadi nivritti upadeshanam anarthakyam praptam. So, if you take the stand that akriyarthana upadeshaha anarthakaha chet, teachings pertaining to non-actions, teaching pertaining to non-actions is useless, anarthakaha chet, if it is useless, then the statements like, the teachings like, don't be violent, don't be violent, don't, it is a don't. Brahmano nahantavyaha ityadi nivritti upadesha anarthakyam praptam. Then all those statements in the form of don't do this wrong action, don't do that wrong action. So these teachings in the form of don'ts they will have to be concluded as useless. But can we conclude the don'ts as useless? Don'ts are never useless. Don'ts are also useful. That is why when you go to a camp, the first thing you ask them, I want to join your camp, I want to stay here for 10 days. Please give me the list of do's and don'ts. What is it that I should follow here? And what is it that I should avoid? This is called do's and don'ts. don'ts are as much essential as even. That is why the attraction is more towards don'ts. Distraction is always towards don'ts. The impulse always attracts man towards the don'ts. And if I can avoid the don'ts, it is useful. Sometimes I get happiness by following the do's. And sometimes I get lot of happiness by just avoiding. I don't have to do anything. I have to just keep away. I'm not doing. Keeping away from the don'ts itself gives lot of happiness. You see, lot of happiness. You just keep away from the don'ts. Therefore, to say only do's are useful, don'ts are not useful is wrong. Don'ts also are useful. And don't, when you follow don't, it is not an action. It is just avoiding a wrong action. That's called don't. Don't be violent. Understand? Don't steal. Don't tell lies. Understand? In this manner, all these don't. If a person can follow do's, don'ts, a person can just avoid all the don'ts. And even if he follows less of do's, you see, he does his duty less, but he avoids all, he is a happy person. But if a person is very dutiful, a person does his duty all right, but then he also doesn't avoid don'ts. He does wrong action. So the don'ts that I don't avoid, the wrong things that I do, neutralize the right things that I do. You see, sometimes the wrong neutralizes the right. The right doesn't neutralize the wrong. The wrong neutralizes the right. You see, you are a regular walker, and then you come back from the walking and then you start taking malpuda. Malpuda and so many other things. Aloo puri, pinni, paratha, all peas, Palak paneer, pinni, paratha, malpuda, all P. That is all because it all comes from Punjab. It all comes from Punjab. So Punjabis all take things which begin with P. So even though I go for a walk, regular walk, and I come back and I take all these things, so this is all don'ts really. These don'ts neutralize the good effects of walking. What can you do? And therefore here Bhagavan says, don't conclude don'ts are useless. Avoiding don'ts also is useful. And if you say it is useless, then half of karma kanda would be useless because half of karma kanda is all don'ts. That is why Vidhi Pratisheda Shastram. Advice, whenever somebody gives you advice, it is always in the form of either do or don't. Either do or. That's why when children, I'll give you the secret. When the children always complain, parents always say, don't do this, don't do that. For you there is very little do. School jana, padna, ana. Ek hi do hai. You don't have a second do until your education is over. You have only One do. And what is it? Study. You see? Therefore, there are no do's to teach. Therefore, the parents have, all the teenagers have to be taught only don'ts. Because they have no do's. You have only one do to follow. Study. And if the parents advise, those advices have to be in the form of don'ts. Ye mat karo, all wrong things. Don't waste time. Don't get lost in picture halls. Don't go after the girls. This is not the time. Don't be lazy. Be in time. Don't be late to your school. All these things are what? Don'ts. And because the parents give don'ts, the children get irritated. If the parents don't give them don'ts, then what do they give? Do's are nothing. It is only the do's begin only after marriage. After the marriage you have to do this, do that, do this, do that. But before while one is studying, the impulse is always towards don'ts. So naturally the parents have to talk only the language of don'ts. But the children get irritated because their impulse is attacked. They say they are only attacking your impulse, they are not attacking your freedom. Impulse is taken as freedom. That's nothing. पुरानी रीति ठीक है, बच्चों को सलाह देना अच्छा होता है. Those old paddhatis we will come back after maybe 100 years. When they have burnt all their fingers and toes, when they have burnt all their fingers and toes, then they will come back to that old style, respecting the parents, taking the right advice and living a correct life, that sanity life. This is all a life of, distractions. But even when a person lives a correct life, he doesn't lose freedom. In fact, he gets freedom by way of controlling his impulses. And violence also is an impulse. And controlling it gives me freedom. Why not? Ityadi nivritti upadeshanam anarthakyam praptam tacha anishtam. Here Bhagavan says, concluding that avoiding the don'ts is useless is not right. Tacha anishtam. It's not acceptable even to the Purva-Pakshi. Half of Karmakanda is useless. Is it acceptable to the Karmakandi? Half of Karmakanda is useless, is not acceptable even to the Karmakandi. Tacha anishtam nacha svabhava praptam hantyartham anuragena nayaha shakyam aprapta kriyarthatvam kalpayitum hanana kriya nivritti hanana kriya nivritya audasinya vyatirekena nacha svabhava prapta hanti. Hantyartha means violence. Hanti is a dhatu. Han is a dhatu. And its sense is the act of violence. The sense. Hanti artha anuragena. And what is this hantyartha, this violence? Svabhava prapta. Everybody, svabhava means by impulse. Everybody has an impulse to be violent. It's what a wonderful unfoldment. Everybody by impulse is violent. As long as I control it, I am non-violent. If I have no control over impulse, then I become violent. Violence is the impulse, really. Violence is the universal impulse. You see, what comes out, so effortlessly is violence. So there is an impulse to hurt, then I have to tell myself, let me not hurt. I have to be careful. I have to be careful not to hurt. But I don't have to be careful to hurt. I don't have to be careful to hurt. In fact, when I am not careful, I hurt. So when I am careful, I don't hurt. Therefore, whatever I do without deliberation, whatever I do when I am not careful, is all impulse. It's all impulse. If I am not careful, I tell lies. So, in order to tell lies, I don't have to think. But in order not to tell lies, I have to be careful. Are you able to follow? I have to be careful. I have to think. I have to use my will. I have to use my will. I have to decide. I have to think. So I have to use my discrimination to avoid telling lies or to avoid violence. Therefore, whatever we do without our will, without our choice, without using our deliberation, is all impulse. Therefore, what is really violence? Svabhava prapta. Pakka. Svabhava prapta means that which man is born with the impulse to hurt. Man is born with the impulse to hurt. Impulse to harm. And growing means growing out of that impulse. That's called growth. The impulse to tell lies is impulse. Not to tell lies is growth. Not to be violent is growth. Not to be greedy is growth. Not to be angry is growth. You can show anger rather than become angry. That's possible. You have to show anger. That's all growth. You can show eyes, you can show anger. You show your eyes, ears, teeth, everything peaceful, so that the other person gets scared and then he does some duty. Maybe that's a strategy. But if I really lose my temper, then in that's really it does damage. It does damage to myself or it does damage to the relationship. It becomes strained. And therefore, svabhava prapta hanti artha anuragena. Anuraga means association. Na hantavyaha, when we look at that phrase, that na is negative. It is associated with hantavyaha. And therefore, that na only negates. Don't kill means what? Avoid killing. Na hantavyaha, not to be killed. When a person hears and when he is receptive to that advice, then he withdraws from the act of violence. So, anuragena naya, nanj is an abhyaya, nanj. And the shashti of nanj is nayaha, is naika. Shakyam apraptam, na shakyam aprapta kriyartatvam kalpayatum. It is not possible to imagine, just listen, it's not possible to imagine, like this, don't kill, not killing is also an action. It's not possible to imagine not doing the act of violence is also another action that is wrong. It's not possible. It's not possible. Because action is something that is a positive action. Doing something that is called an action. Not doing is not an action. Not killing is an action. Not killing is not an action. It is freedom from action. So it is non-action. So half of karma kanda teaches non-action. Non-action means don't. So don't ultimately means non-action. So in that manner Vedanta also teaches Brahman, and knowing which is not an action. Therefore how can Karmakandi say that every teaching must pertain to action? There can be teachings pertaining to non-action, like don'ts are teachings of non-action. So similarly Brahma Vidya also is non-action. One non-action is in the form of withdrawal from the action. The other non-action is knowing what is Smekya. Therefore, nacha svabhav prapti hantyarthanuragena nayaha shakyam aprapta kriyartatvam kalpayatum hanana kriya nivritti avudasinya vitirekena. In fact, the don't doesn't accomplish anything other than making you peaceful, free from action. Avudasinya vitirekena. Supposing somebody is trying to get up and go. Somebody is trying to get up and go. Then you please, at home, somebody is sitting and he wants to go into the kitchen, and then somebody says, please don't go. Then what does he do? Utke jane wale the. Then you say, please don't. Then what will happen? He keeps quiet. Shanti. The action that is about to take place doesn't take place. He remains free from action and he is peaceful, and that is called Audasinyam. Audasinyam means freedom from action. Shanti. Udasinata. Udasinata means what? Forget about it. You wanted to go and somebody says don't, and then you forget about it. First, you withdraw from that action. Therefore, when I am receptive to don'ts, lot of shanti comes. I'm just telling away from the topic. What we are trying to convey is that the Veda teaches not only actions, Veda also teaches non-actions. Even Karma Kanda teaches non-actions. In the same manner, Vedanta also teaches non-action. Vedanta, when it teaches non-action, that is in the form of knowing. Karma Kanda, when it teaches non-action, it is in the form of don'ts. Are you able to follow? Don'ts. You are not able to follow? Don'ts. Don't do this, don't do this. What are you teaching? Non-action. It is not easy to be receptive to don'ts in life. Doing is easy, not doing is difficult. Doing the right is easy, but to avoid the wrong is very difficult. Because the mind always thinks about temptation is never for the right. You don't feel tempted to tell the truth. There is no temptation to tell the truth. There is no temptation to do the right. The temptation is always for the wrong. And man is always tempted. And if I can avoid that, avoid the don'ts, then I am naturally peaceful. This is one shanti which comes free. I don't have to do anything. Just by not doing, I get a lot of shanti. In that manner, don'ts in the form of non-action is useful. Therefore, karma kanda the whole karma kanda is useful. In what way? By way of doing the right actions and by way of avoiding the wrong actions, the whole karma kanda is useful. In the same manner, Vedanta also is useful, and it does not talk the language of do's and don'ts. It talks about the nature, how Atma is Brahman, and knowing that Atma is Brahman also liberates man, it is useful, and that is not an action. It is in the form of knowledge. Harana kriya nivritya udasinya vidrekena nanyascha esha svabhavaha yat swasambandinah abhavam bodhayati. This na always tells the absence. वहां पर पानी है, पानी नहीं है. So that na means nahi, conveys what? Absence. The na conveys the absence. No. In English it is no. In Hindi it is nahi. In Sanskrit it is na. Na. Na conveys the absence. आप जा रहे हैं ना, आपके पास पैसा है ना, ना ना ना, more than once ना. Will you follow? In this manner, na hantavyaha, not to be violent. One should not be violent, means let there be no violence. Conveys was absence. Therefore, nanyascha eshaha subhava. This is the nature of the negative na. Yat jo swasambandinaha, wherever it is associated, uska abhavam bodhayati, it conveys its absence. It conveys its absence. Not to be killed. Able to follow? Therefore, when it conveys absence, absence of an action is not an action. Therefore, half of karma kanda only teaches the absence of actions. And teaching absence of actions means teaching non-action. Non-action. Whereas Purvapakshi has been telling every statement must pertain to action. But what about these statements? Brahmano na hantavyaha, kalanyam na bhakshayat, suram na pibet, don't drink, etc., etc. They are not actions, they are only avoiding actions. Avoiding action is what? Non-action. Nanyascha svabhavaha yat swasambandinaha abhavam bodhayati iti abhava buddhischa audasinya karanam. So if a person is told don't kill, and then if he is receptive, and then he renounces the act of killing, and renunciation of the act of killing is not another action, he becomes freed from that action, and then that is called udasinata. Not interested, not doing an action. There is no sankalpa to do an action. That is called udasinata. There is no impulse for violence. That is called peace. Udasinata means sham. A person is peaceful. There is no impulse to tell a lie. There is no impulse to hurt. There is no impulse to do any wrong thing. Then, when there is no impulse inside, then you are peaceful. And that peace is called udasinata. That udasinata means freedom from the impulse. That freedom from the impulse is called udasinata. कहीं जाने की इच्छा ही नहीं होती है. That is called उदासीनता. कुछ करने की इच्छा ही नहीं. उदासीनता. बस घर में रहता हूँ, काम करता हूँ, बच्चों का देखभाल करता हूँ, कहीं इधर उधर घूमने की इच्छा नहीं है. That is called उदासीनता. And that person is peaceful. You see, you are doing your duty and there is no impulse for anything. And there is no action in it. There is only shanti. Sacham Daktendanam Agnivat Swayameva Upashamyati. To begin with, there is a little thinking, there is a little effort to avoid action. Meaning you are using your viveka, not action. You use your, you have to make up your mind to avoid violence. That small little struggle is there to avoid that withdrawal, that choice. You are using your choice to avoid violence. Then after that, once you have avoided the violence, then that inner effort also ceases. Like even the fire, it burns the fuel and then itself cools down. Having burnt the fuel, and then the fire cools down. So the choice helps me to avoid violence. I have said any wrong deed. My choice helps me to avoid the wrong action. Then afterwards, it subsides. That is shanti. That is shanti. Now is it useful or not? Avoiding the wrong is useful. In what way? Because it makes me peaceful. Doing the right action brings me a result, and that is also useful so that I can survive. I tell you, doing the right action sustains me. Avoiding the wrong action gives me mental shanti. Understand this? Avoiding the wrong gives me shanti. Going to office is a doing an action. When I do actions, they bring me results, and results only help me for Sharir Yatra. Money will not give me shanti, but money helps me to survive. All the Vihita karma gives me Sharir Yatra, sustain me, physical sustenance. Real, lot of Vihita karma. If I go, anything that I do gives me physical sustenance. When I avoid the wrong, gives me mental peace. Or we can say, doing the right actions and avoiding wrong actions, both help me survive as well as find mental peace. There is no need for vada vivada in this matter. Doing the right is useful. Avoiding the wrong also is useful. And that is what we experience. And therefore, a non-action need not be useless. That is the Siddhanta. Avoiding an action need not be useless. And what is Brahma Vidya? Avoiding an action is non-action. And what is Brahma Vidya? Non-action. Non-action means what? It is knowing, which is not an action. If avoiding an action is useful, then knowing also is useful. Avoiding an action is non-action. Knowing the truth is also non-action. Therefore, non-action is useful. Brahma Vidya is useful. Why say it is not useful? Because the Mimamsakas, the Karmakandis always say, Vedant padke kya karenge? Vedant padne se kya milta hai? Kahenge aap Brahma hai. But then when you know that you are Brahman, so sharir to chutta nahi hai. Even after knowing that you are Brahma, sharir to chutta nahi. Then bimari to rata hai. Sansar to waise ke waise rata hai. Therefore you leave that Brahma Vidya, you come to me, I will teach you how to do puja part. This is how Mimamsaka would say. That is because they don't know much. But the right Mimamsakas, the right Karmakandis appreciate the beauty of Karmakanda and also appreciate the beauty of Brahma Vidya, sannyasa. A right grihastha would respect sannyasa. He is a right grihastha because he understands the place of grihastha and also the place of sannyasa. He is a right grihastha. A right grihastha will not take a stand against sannyasa, nor a right sannyasi takes a stand against grihastha. A right grihastha respects all the 4 ashramas. A right sannyasi also respects all 4 ashramas. A right karmakandi also respects both karmakanda and Brahma Vidya, Vedanta. And a right sannyasi also respects both karmakanda and Vedanta. It has its utility. Karmakanda is useful in its way and Vedanta is useful in its way. In this manner. Sa chatagdhendana swayame upashamyati tasmat prasakta kriya nivritya audasinyameva brahmano na hantavyah ityadishu pratishedhartam manyamahe anyatra prajapati vratadibhyah. So, says, tasmat, therefore, manyamahe, we think, prasakta kriya nivritya audasinyameva. To renounce the wrong actions and be peaceful. Audasinyameva. Brahmanona hantavyaha ityadishu. In all the statements of don'ts. Pratishedhartham manyamahe. Pratishedhartham manyamahe. Tasmat prasakta kriya nivritya audasinyameva brahmanona hantavyaha ityadishu pratishedhartham manyamahe. The sense of all the don'ts is in the form of negation of a wrong action. Negation of a wrong action and audasi. It is pratishedhartham. Anyatra prajapatibhyah. This is the usual trend all over the world. Whenever you say no, it only conveys the absence, except in one situation, and that is called really anyatra prajapatyadibhyah, anyatra prajapati vratadibhyah, anyatra prajapati vratadibhyah. In certain rituals where nakara means something different. It is said, when a student, completes his adhyayanam and then comes back home, there is a particular ritual called Prajapati Vratam. It is a vratam, a vow. And in that ritual, he says, don't see the rising sun. Don't see the rising sun doesn't imply merely avoiding the act of seeing the sun. It means at that time be occupied with something else. It means do something other than it. This is what is called anyartha. This nang in Sanskrit, it can be in the sense of abhava. It can be in the sense of anya. It can be anyarthe nang. It can be abhavarthe nang. It can be alparthe nang. It can be virodharthe nang. Like adharma. What is adharma? It is not merely dharma abhava. It also means dharma virodha. You see? A wrong deed, adharma. Adharma, like, you usurp somebody else's kingdom. Duryodhana usurped the kingdom that belonged to Yudhishthira. It is adharma. What does it mean? It is not only just really dharma abhavaha, but it is dharma virodha. It is an action that is dharma virodha. Now, in the case of Prajapati Vrata, etc., there the don't also means doing something other than what is to be avoided. Like at the time of don't see a rising sun, don't see a setting sun, don't step over the tether of a calf. Yes, there is a tether of a calf. A calf is tied and there is a tether. No, there is something, it's called tether. And then you don't step over it. In this manner, there are a few don'ts. And all those don'ts must be interpreted. Get occupied with better things. At that time, do something else. That simple meaning you pick up. So there, abhava does not mean mere abhava, but it also means doing another action. But here, don't be violent. It only means don't be violent. Bas. It is only in the sense of abhava. So, this anyatra prajapati vratadibhyaha, there this much alone should be understood, except in the case of prajapati vratam, that don't implies also a positive action. Avoiding an action and doing something else. There is avoiding an action and doing another action. But here, when we say don't be violent, it doesn't mean really do something else. It means don't be violent. Baaki so aapka marzi, kya karte ho, kya, what you do, what you don't do, that is your lookout. But don't be violent. Thus, when I avoid the action, the pratishedhartha, then it gives me, it is useful to me in a way that it doesn't give me dukkham. I preempt the dukkham by avoiding the wrong action. Okay. Tasmat purushartham anupayogi upakhyanadi bhutarthavada vishayam anarthakya avidhanam drashtavyam. This is concluding. Therefore, when Jaimini said, well, amnayasya kriyarthatvat anarthakyam adudarthanam, that is all those details which are not directly related to action are useless. When he said, it means only the arthavada vakyas which are not directly related to action. They have to be taken as useless. But again, we can't say something useless is there in Veda. So you connect it. What looks to be unrelated to karma in Karma Kanda has to be somehow or other related. If you keep any detail unrelated to karma in Karma Kanda, then that detail is of no use. Is of no use. Therefore, every detail in Karma Kanda has either direct relation to action or indirect relation to action. So, in that sense it has. Not really avoiding the wrong action is useless. No. Avoiding wrong action is not useless. Tasmat purushartha anupayogi, that which is not useful for man. Upakhyanadi arthavadadi. Bhuta arthavada. Bhuta arthavada. Arthavada means, understand this much. Mentioning certain details which have no direct relation to karma. Such things. Bhuta arthavada vishayam. Anarthakya abhidanam, that is the sense of the anarthakya. Anarthakya abhidanam means that is the sense of the, that is the sense of the word anarthakya. Not avoiding wrong action is anarthakyam. Non-action is not useless. Avoiding a wrong action is not useless. A non-action is not useless. Non-action is not useless. Certain objects which are mentioned, which are not directly related to action, are useless. But they can't be concluded as useless, but somehow or other we have to relate it to the action in that manner. Okay. Yadapi uktam kartavya vidhi anupravesham antarena vastu matram uchyamanam anarthakam syat saptadvipa vasumati ityadi vaditi tat parihritam. Purvapakshi had said, stating things like this, that is, kartavya vidhi anupravesham antarena, meaning saying things which are other than actions, saying things other than rituals. Vastu matram uchyamanam, just stating what is what. Stating that you are Brahman, stating that Brahman is unlimited, stating that Jagat is false. This is of no use. What is useful for man? Tell him what to do. So when he does something, then it will bring him some result. Then with that result, he will be happy. Now stating like this, you are Brahman, you are not the body, you are unlimited, you are eternal, and Brahman is Jagat Karanam, and Brahman is Satyam, you are Satyam, you are Jnanam, you are Anantam. In this manner, when Vedanta says, it is of no use to me. This is what the Purvapakshi Karmagandhi said, Mimamsaka said. So, Praveshamantarena Vastumatram Uchyamanam Anarthakam Syat, these statements are of no use. Describing the objects is of no use. Describing man is of no use. Describing God is of no use. Describing man's nature is of no use. Because whatever you describe, he will remain the same. And therefore he will have to live his life. Like it's like saying, this earth has 7 continents. What is the use of that vakya? Saptadvipa vasumati. This earth has 7 continents. Now what do you get out of it? Suppose you hear Saptadvipa. Every day you come to Ramana Kendra and the Swami says this earth has got 7 continents. What do you get? Get nothing. In the same manner, you come to Ramana Kendra every day and he says, the Swami says, Jiva is Brahma, Brahman is Satyam, Brahman is Jnanam, Anantam, Brahman Ekmeva Advitiyam, Jagat is Mithya. He goes on saying, what do you get out of it? It is better that the Swami teaches the students what to do, what not to do. Kya karna, kya nahi karna. Wo acha hai. This is the argument given by the Purvapakshi. Saptadvipa vasumati ityadi vaditi tat parihritam. Bhashyakara says this argument stands answered. Why? Because just as actions are useful, sometimes even descriptions are useful. When I hear the description, and if that can remove my ignorance, then the ignorance-born problems can go. So I think I am the body, and for which I am suffering, and if Vedanta describes me and makes me understand how I am not the body, how I am Brahmavastu, how I am Advitiyam, how I am Satyam, how I am Jnanam Anantam, if it can describe my nature and make me understand that description of my nature, then it is useful. How can you say describing things is useless? Describing things is useful. In fact, the whole science is what? Description of the details of the creation. The whole anatomy is all described in medical science, it's all description. When I'm given the description of what the world is and what I am, it removes my ignorance, and the ignorance born problems also, they go. Knowledge also can, enlightenment, knowledge also can help me. In fact, here the knowledge is, here the description is of my nature. And when I am ignorant of my nature, I take myself to be just a flesh and bone, and for that I suffer. And Vedanta comes and describes my nature, how you are not the form, how you are Brahma Vastu. And if I can understand that description, I get liberated. Therefore, how can the Vastu Kathanam be useless? And therefore, the Purva-Pakshi's argument stands refuted. Vastumadi ityadivatu tat parikritam iti. You can put a mark there. That's enough. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadguru Bhagavani ki jai, Ganga Maiya ki jai. O Rama. Ganga Maiya. Hari Om. Please come. Guru Bhagavani ki jai, Ganga Maiya ki jai. Please come. Koi baat nahi. Maharaj has come. Hari Om ji. Thank you. Thank you.
So you just need to remove the paper because they're very heavy and full of fats and they will stick.
I don't have to keep in the refrigerator.
No, I don't have to do it. Maybe by tomorrow.
Okay.
Then they'll have stick. Because they don't rot easily.
Okay. Thank you.
It has to be removed because they may get overripe.
Help me.
How are you keeping, Swamiji?
I am keeping all right, but how are you and how is Lalji? Huh?
We just came here and we said, "Chalo."
You are looking like Australian Mataji.
What? How did I ever look like an Australian?
Ah, ji. But you are going to be there now for some time?
Yes, no. Yes, we'll go back. Permanently we are there settled.
Settled
We're
there.
not going to come here permanently.
They are going.
There only.
They
We'll
are
like
there.
there only.
Their house and
so
everything.
I will not go on. But we are going.
Their house is there.
And my daughter.
Betty is all right.
Betty's all right. Working as usual.
Working. Children are okay.
Growing up.
Vidur is all right.
He can. He
Sab
can.
chal raha. Lalji theek hai.
He can.
Okay. Acha. How many days are you here?
We'll come and see you.
Okay. Okay. You can give me a ring. For 10 days you are here?
Huh?
Your 10 days you are here?
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
For 10, 15 days?
Yes, yes. When are you leaving for Uttarakhand?
Another month?
Another month. April you are here? April?
April 5th, 6th, 7th.
All right, that's fine. End of this month or
End of
contact.
Okay. And please give my Hari Om to
Mohini Chaudhary also said Hari Om to you. Maharaj
you know,
said,
Lalji ठीक है.
ठीक है, सब ठीक है. He looks after himself, he looks
Yeah,
after
he goes
everything.
place walks.
Walks and all that. And he doesn't eat all that aloo puri and pua and all that. No.
मालपुड़ा नहीं लेते.
नहीं लेते.
हाँ, लेने को बोलो. बिना मालपुड़ा कैसे? हाँ, आनंद means not.
Since we have met at Madras, every week it's possible.
Every week would be possible.
तो आप जैसे कहें, जैसे कहें.
No, I don't know. I'll talk to you afterwards, sir. Some other time. You can give me a ring.
मुझे टेलीफोन नंबर.
You take my telephone number. Hari Om ji, Namaskar. वसंत विहार स्वामी जी हैं. वसंत विहार जाते हैं स्वामी जी.
तो मुझे मालूम नहीं ना, मैं अलग से अरेंज करना चाह रही हूँ ए ब्लॉक में. I have
You take my number, then I'll
added for you and you come to meet us.
41002523.
कौन सा समय होता है जो आपको?
4:35
In the
5.
morning? Yeah.
हाँ ना.
शाम को.
हाँ 5.
5 o'clock. I'll do that.
आप लीजिए. ठीक है. Yeah.
Imposition, the constructs that you keep building
Ah.
one over the other. And the fact that after you build these constructs, you actually have to
Again negate.
negate the constructs. But while you're doing them, things like say the entire aspect of karma, say entire aspect of karma, aren't you demolishing some of the fundamentals on which Hinduism is based?
No, they have their value. We accept their value within Vyavahara.
But that's only relative.
They're relative. The absolute value is enjoyed only by the truth, the Vedanta unfoldment. In Vyavahara, we respect temples, prayers, everything is. They have their value. It's like this. It's kind of, you appreciate it and go past it. You don't stick to it. You derive whatever you can derive from the prayers.
No, but the theory of karma.
That is also valid when I am ignorant about myself. So when I go past the realm of error, the truth is independent of the error. Therefore, the law of karma doesn't apply to the truth. But the law of karma applies within the realm of the error. So it continues. A student only comes to understand what is there independent of law of karma. So it is a fulfillment of Hinduism, not going demolishing. Supposing, if you say prayer is not valid, categorically when we say, then it is wrong. You say prayer helps you up to a point, then you have to go. Then you have to go into vichara also. So derive what you can derive from the prayer, derive what you can derive from everything. Vidhi, Pratisheda, temples, all Hinduism is all meant to prepare you for the Vastu Jnana. So ultimately one has to go to Vastu Jnana also. He carries the benefit, all that he derives from all this detail. The Chitta Shuddhi is the benefit of all that he followed in the name of Hinduism. It gives him Chitta Shuddhi, and he uses the Chitta Shuddhi to understand himself. So that way it doesn't make Hinduism. It fulfills, It's like when you learn the alphabet, go past it. But you carry the alphabet. You learn the alphabet and carry it further. You don't leave it. carry the alphabet with it. Similarly, you learn the prayers and you carry the benefit of it. You don't take a stand against it. Like the scholar doesn't take a stand against the alphabet. Supposing he takes a stand against the alphabet, then it would be wrong, demolishing. Here we don't take a stand against the alphabet. We use the alphabet to grow and then ultimately know the truth. Next to Friday, next to Saturday, when we take up that Adhyaropa Bhava, I'll touch this point. Okay? And I'll remember a lot of things. Even construction, this particular word, like Drashtritvam, Sakshitvam, Vedanta doesn't construct. It is already universally felt, it only points out. So it is not a new thing. All these varied experiences are there. We only move from one experience to another experience, to the fundamental experience which is the Anubhava. The rest are all distortions about it, looking like Anubhava. Thus, that's called Adhyaropa Bhava. I'll make it very clear on Friday and Saturday. It's a long, it's a very wide topic. ठीक है ना? आप फिर केरला चले गए थे? चेन्नई चले गए थे। ओ हाँ, you have lost weight also little. थोड़ा सा। हमारा क्लास में 2-4 ज्यादा आते हैं ना, वो क्राउड हो जाती है। 2-4 कम हो जाती है ना, फिर उदास हो जाता है। अयो रामा, हमारा पूरा 2-4 हरे ओम जी। Today I taken both I will have what anything whatever. Today we have the chance. Back 4:35. You can make 5 o'clock. Perfect. Perfect. Please come. Please come. अच्छा नहीं लेते नहीं बस ये भी आप इतना प्रेम से देते हैं